We are live. There's a big red box that says live, so I'm going to go with that. Jess, hello.
Hey, hello.
Thanks for joining me on my little program.
Thank you for having me.
You were top of my list. I'm glad we found a time. We found a Friday morning that works. Tell the people, please, who you are and what you do.
Okay. I am Jess Smith, and I lead the consumer protection, marketing, and commercial legal team at Uber. And commercial includes vendor contracting, some consumer-facing business development work, and real estate.
All right.
And I've been at Uber for almost 8 years. It'll be 8 years in July.
Hey, in today's terms, that's a long time. I realized I feel like an old person around, like, why are people jumping around jobs so much? But like 8 years now feels like forever at jobs.
It feels like forever.
So
yeah, and in dog years, it's like really long.
A good chunk. Well, in dog years, yeah, that's right. I would say my dog is a middle-aged cranky lady just like me. All right, let's talk a little bit about then. So there's a lot in that job remit, by the way, compared to others. And I think as Uber grows, all kinds of stuff can always evolve and change. But you are a contracts geek, aren't you? You do a lot of contracts, and I say this in the most positive possible way. How did you end up though in this role? How'd you end up in house? Tell us about your career journey, and then we'll dig into contracts.
Sure. Well, I started as a litigator, actually. So I started not in contracts at all. I don't know if you know that. I started as a litigator at Paul Weiss, and then I clerked for a bit, and then as I decided that litigation really wasn't for me in the long term, I was interviewing for jobs, and this wonderful small firm called Frankfurt Kernet in New York, shout out to Frankfurt Kernet, described themselves as recovering litigators, and they were all former Paul Weiss people. So they kind of welcomed me with open arms, and they run an advertising law boutique. And so they taught me contracting in addition to marketing law and all kinds of consumer protection stuff. And I loved it. And so I moved from there I went to Snapchat actually for a bit. And then since 2018, I've been at Uber. And my role at Uber has evolved over time. I started in the consumer protection marketing world. And then I started to kind of think about contracts more broadly in terms of the role that I did in the marketing space. But also across my team. And I started to think about the inefficiencies there and sort of how we were doing massive amounts of contracts. We were negotiating like $5,000 contracts, the same as we were negotiating $5 million contracts. Maybe some of the audience members here can relate to this. And then as I was thinking this through and sort of thinking there's opportunity here to kind of lean into risk a bit, this wonderful job opened up as to lead the commercial transactions team. And that's when we met, Lucy, because you were, were consulting for us and helping us out. And I had the opportunity to step into this role, and I was given this wonderful kind of, I want to say, blank check to kind of go in there and really fix things and think about kind of how we approach contracting as a company. I mean, a lot of my comments today are going to be just Jess, but that was the role in Uber was really changing how we approach contracting.
Yeah. You know what I love? I love the biggest thing about what you said is that you saw this opportunity for a way to do things better. There wasn't like this, job description says, just please come in and figure out how to do things better, because so many lawyers find themselves in that role. And actually that's not their strength. And I feel kind of bad for them, meaning not because they can't do things better, but they don't think in terms of automation and processes. They don't think in terms of, operational efficiencies and they're great lawyers. And right now we are certainly more than ever seeing this kind of squeeze on defining what kind of lawyer are you hiring for? What kind of a lawyer do you need? So what I love about what you said is, you seized an opportunity that was very natural to you. Like, I'm doing contracts, but you're like, oh, we can do this better. And somebody said, yeah, have at it, please, go forth. And I think that's That's important. When we had another company, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on, as you are thinking about whether you're hiring or expanding your team, on the kind of lawyer you would look for. I had somebody reach out to me. They were hiring, and they paused and said, they were calling, for some advice, and said, do you think I should actually be hiring another commercial lawyer? Now with AI, obviously that's the underlying question. And I was like, well, probably yes, but the kind of commercial lawyer you're hiring, I would now say, is different. So tell me a little bit about what you've experienced recently with either hiring or new hires. Maybe you've been in touch with.
I mean, I'll talk about new hires, but also talk about myself. I mean, I think like I was so lucky that I was given this opportunity. It was a real stroke of luck that I was given this opportunity, but I had a background in, so even before litigation, I should say, like before I went to law school, I was in theater and I was a stage manager. And so my background, yeah, you find out new things, right?
I love this. Okay, go ahead.
My deep background was on, I love being a facilitator and organizer and seeing the big picture and, really nerding out on how things work. And so, yes, that's sort of, so looking at things in a big way, big picture, and thinking about risk and operations and tools was sort of in my deep background. And so today when I, and it just is great that I had the opportunity to kind of actually put that in place. But yeah, when I'm looking at new hires today, I am looking for people with a similar bent for sure. I think that, and it's unfortunate because there's nothing in a lawyer's training actually that gives you that. And I think that's definitely where I'd like to see, law schools go in sort of what is a lawyer's new skill set? What is their toolbox in the future? And it's thinking operationally. It's thinking about risk in different ways. It's thinking about what fundamentally is the role of a lawyer nowadays, or theoretically at any time. And it's this advisor. It's this companion. It's someone who's really thinking okay, the adult in the room. That's how someone else described it to me. Just what are we doing here? And getting people sort of to step out of themselves and gut check the whole operation with kind of a sturdy guide. But that's a different skill. And it also takes many years. I mean, I certainly wasn't mature enough or ready before relatively recently to take on that role. But anyway, if that's not too tall of an order, is what I'm looking for when I hire someone,
Sure. Yeah. I call them, I don't know if your order is any taller than mine. I'd like a unicorn, please.
Yeah.
It's really unicorns.
And a nice person too, a good person who has good values and is really cares about our company values and all that stuff. That, obviously that too, but that,
Jess, now you're just being selfish. Now you're just being unrealistic. Let's calm down.
I have a team actually of unicorns, and I'm so lucky. So it is, it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. It's all about the people. Single hardest thing about leaving my job at Microsoft was my team that I had built there, and some of the people that made it possible for me to stay. So it's all about the people, one way or the other.
Totally.
Every job. And that was the biggest aha that I had in my career. And it comes with me everywhere, no matter what I do. Now, even to the point where even when we're advising clients on which systems to buy, it's part of the job we do, I love to know at that vendor, at the systems that we're looking at, I want to know about their leadership. We want to know where their CEO came from, especially the younger companies, right? What's their trajectory? How do they manage their team? What kind of hires do they make? What is their values? How is the team morale up? We realize that from a tech perspective, we're you better be good enough. Sorry, this is not the time to have average tech, right? You just can't get away with it. It's not 15 years ago, e-discovery just starting, or lots of other tech that got away with being okay at the beginning. Right now, table stakes are that your tech better do what you claim it does on your shiny demos. The other half the battle is, what's customer success look like? What does onboarding look like? What are your professional services? Do you offer, do you not? Do you have third party? I mean, it's all about the people. So I think you said something, again, so important. And congratulations on having a rock star team of unicorns. Those are hard to come by. And I can vouch for the team. We've had an incredible experience with the Uber teams. You guys are doing something right for sure. Okay, let's dig in a little bit specifically on, oh, you said so many things, or all these nuggets. I was like, don't forget this, ask her that. But of course, now my brain's all overly excited with all the cool things you said. But let's talk about contracting specifically. I remembered it. I want to talk about the role, because you said, it's this advisor and this, what do you call it, companion. And I do think we do play a little bit of an emotional support animal, for some of our clients. But tell me about the role of risk mitigation and risk analysis. Where do lawyers fit into like defining risk? Let's talk about commercial contracting, like specifically. Who's the decider on risk in contract? Who should be?
Well, I think legal decides, how risky something is, but then the business decides kind of whether to take it on. But I think, and I credit this to my CLO leadership at Uber, but the guidance is like, look, you can spot every issue. You can do that. Right. That is that's a third-year law student activity. You can go ahead and spot every issue. But the role of the lawyer is not to do, and an AI tool can do that, right? An AI tool can, you can put in a contract and say, spot every issue. But your role with judgment and humor and perspective and guidance and really thinking about the context of this business relationship and what we want to get out of it, and sort of whether it's a big company, a small company, all just think about all the elements and then guide the person to then make the decision about the risk, and then to only identify the risks that are actually going to really matter, because it's not productive or fun to just talk about risk every day. It's really all the time and about everything. It's like honing in on what really mattered practically, what's really going to happen to you and how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah, I love, again, everything you're saying. And it's almost like there's this subset of us in the commercial lawyer community that really can articulate that and mean it. I think you can't, we have people say this, and then I see an example of a red line they'll produce, and I'm going, really? Was that extra? Was that necessary? The shall versus will. Is that your definition of really finding what matters?
And a lot of it is operating, out of fear, right? Operating out of fear that if I don't catch something and if something happens, are they going to come back and are they going to throw me in jail, in lawyer jail? And the part of it is sort of having the safety, hopefully the psychological safety within your teams, within your company to be able to say, look, these three things matter and the rest really doesn't. But if something terrible happens about something else, it's okay. We all agree that wasn't really that important. We didn't need to flag, we didn't need to scorch the earth on this one. And we all agree about that. Yeah. So it's really about again, the people, right? Going back to the people, having the leadership and the team and that top down permission to really flag, to have that risk profile that say, what do we really care about? Anyway, I sound like
but it's so important that you can't expect commercial lawyers to be able to be a really good business partner if they don't have that safe space and that leadership that they could look after and say, I was doing the right thing for in order to enable the business, but now you're kind of throwing me under the bus because I didn't find the shall versus will, and that upset the other side, and those things happen, and it's super unfortunate because I think that does quash some of the more innovative, especially up and coming attorneys, if they land in the wrong organizations that really just don't, they just aren't ready for that, and that's another reality, right? You gotta know that risk tolerance vibe that you're when you're in part of an organization. So you mentioned it, the two-letter monster AI, and before we went live, we talked a little bit about, I was like, what's happening? Have you been infected with the AI? It's crazy, right? The fever pitch that's happening. So you did mention it. AI can do some stuff now.
I did. I said it.
Right? You said it. You said it first. So now I'm going to tell you to say more things about it. Tell me your thoughts on it. What can it actually do? What should it do? And how should lawyers start playing?
Yeah. Well, I'll also say that we were laughing before about when I said, people need to chill out. And they need to go watch the old dystopian movies from the 80s where there are robots everywhere, and they do make you breakfast, but humans are still the main character. And I think if you keep that nugget in your mind, maybe you can sort of calm down about the future. I mean, AI is incredible, and it's going to do incredible things, and it is doing incredible things. But it is a tool like any other. That's my opinion on it. Maybe it's not exactly a hot take, by the way. Like, this is not groundbreaking, but it's a tool, right? Like, I think that it's an extraordinary tool, and I think it'll be base level, entry level requirement that you are super fluent in how to use it, when to use it, what to use. And we're seeing that. We're seeing people try to adapt to that requirement. But right now, we talked about it. It's a crazy free for all. It's just a crazy sort of like flood of tools and systems and consultants and people. And I think at the end of the day, lawyers that aren't in the job of selling these tools or consulting on these tools, it's really about like, okay, what are the discrete tasks in my job that I can delegate to AI or use AI to assist me to be that much better? What don't I really need to do anymore? And then finding those things, and then either building yourself or finding a third-party tool that can actually do that. But it's a very precise activity, because otherwise you're going to be completely overwhelmed. You're just going to be like, oh my God, AI. And on the one hand, you can really just open up Gemini or whatever, ChatGPT, and just talk to it all day. Yeah. You can really think about what are the tools and the specific use cases that are going to really maximize my impact.
Yeah. I like that. I think that's a great, and we do this all the time. We talk to kind of the overwhelmed or the lawyers certainly in-house that are feeling pressure from their leadership, right? Go find AI, go do it. What are we doing with AI? What do we need? I need to do something. I need to tell the C-suite we're doing something. They can't think legal's not doing anything with AI. I mean, literally, we hear this. This is real. These are real quotes. And that pressure and that frenzy. And I think what you're offering is a very logical, pragmatic approach that says, can you identify a couple of tasks? Break I think, frankly, the challenge is even thinking about contracting as a series of tasks. So if we're talking about tasks like writing an email or reviewing a long contract, those are maybe clearer tasks. I think when people think about their day job in the contracting, process and the things that come to the lawyers that maybe should or shouldn't, the whole kind of ball of wax, it becomes a little overwhelming. And I think thinking about their job even as discrete tasks is even that first precursor, which, again, as we talked about earlier, there's no precursor training out there. There is. Here's AI. Here's prompt lessons, because everybody needs to become a prompt engineer. We heard that for a while, right? You need to become a prompt engineer. Fine. Or you need to learn a code. That predated you need to become a prompt engineer. The coolest thing was, do lawyers need a code? That was every webinar for a couple of years, right? Then now everybody needs to be a prompt engineer. What? So now we're just like, no, every lawyer just needs to learn a prompt. So there's that. But there's still completely missing, and I'm going to lead the witness because you said it earlier, and I was so excited to hear it. There's still nobody's helping you with the process. Here's a robot. Good luck. Right? Yeah. Like Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. Hello, dating myself. She knew where the vacuum was. She knew where the rooms were in the house. There's some readiness that needs to happen. You can't just plop in a robot and say, "Go forth." Right. So, give me a little on the process.
No, it's something we talked about before, and yes, I'll elaborate on it. I mean, I think that you really need to start. You have to start with process. You have to start with where A, B, C, and D, and where that AI tool comes in. I mean, I think that for us, actually, we didn't start with when at Uber, when we were thinking about contracting, we actually didn't go straight to AI at all. We went to automation, right? We went to like, what are some things, this giant swath of contracts, right? So as I mentioned before, the way we were operating was we were doing $5,000 agreements, the same as $5 million agreements. And so the first thing that needed to happen was a major culture change about risk, right? And coming together as a whole company and getting buy-in from all the right people to say, okay, can we treat this bucket of contracts differently? Right? Can these, with the right safeguards in place, with the right terms, with the right tools, with the right automation, can we bypass legal? That's crazy for a lawyer to say, pushing off work and saying we don't need to be there, but we don't need to be there. And so that was the first step, was like taking that giant group of contracts and saying, where are we truly needed? That was before AI even entered the picture, right? And so then it's okay. The remaining contracts where our guidance and expertise and strategic kind of advice is truly needed. Well, what part of that can be assisted, aided, replaced with AI? Then we can talk about AI. And so, right, having that process in place, knowing when to use it, how to use it, and then, okay, how many rounds are you going to do with AI? When is legal going to come in? When can actually the business use their own AI tool to self-help on certain things? Like we use one of my wonderful people on my team built a gem that as like a gem for low risk talent contracts. This is on the commercial marketing side of things, right? Where the gem issue spots like the top 3 to 5 things that you should really care about third-party contracts. You can upload a third-party contract into this gem, and it's an agent, and it basically says like, look, this basically is fine. You really need to worry about these 3 things. Here is language to replace paragraph, X, Y, and Z. Here are the comments you need to send back. Go. We have reduced our touch points with our clients on these low value talent deals by 80%. Which is incredible. And so those discrete things of like, hey, now that we can whittle down where we're really needed and where we're not, and where our value comes in, then we can start actually like surgically inserting the AI where it's truly needed most.
That is, again, I'm like, really, seriously, please take my job, Jess. Take my job.
You're so needed because there's so many. I mean, I'm so lucky to work in a company that is like not only, well funded for these matters and takes these issues seriously and understands the importance of them and really like rallies around innovation and change and risk, which is an incredibly exciting place to work. But there are a lot of companies that don't have that benefit, and they kind of turn to their lawyer and they say, lawyer, do AI, go, right? And so you're so critical for helping those companies like frame things because it's completely overwhelming. It's so daunting. Yeah.
No, it is. I was talking to a GC of a smaller company. They had gone through some changes in the company. They implemented a CLM system, and she's like, "Oh yeah, but it's not and this, and now I'm getting more pressure, and we're really not using AI. And what do I do? Where do I?" And like there really is this feeling of it's overwhelming right now, and it's distracting, and it's people just need a little bit more of a methodical approach to it. And I think what you described is spot on. Where are we really needed is the top first problem. We always say the first step is to craft some sort of a legal review policy. Policy is a big word, but some people understand it, so we use that word. But it's what is your philosophy on the role legal should be playing in contracting? You got to kind of write that down. You have to force the topic, right? You have to say, I don't think we're needed in these kind of contracts anymore. Really? Oh, what does that mean? And you have to. Without that, you really can't bring in AI. If you still think you have to review a $5,000 contract and a $5 million in the same time, same urgency, same prioritization, like I think that feeling of responsiveness and being on the defense all the time, right? Because contracts are coming in and we're just doing, and not being able to pause and say, what should legal be spending its time on? And you know what? When people do that, Jess, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's some scenarios where you could say, okay, now that we're not doing this stuff, I'd love actually to have the business be enabled with AI. Hey, C-suite, here's how we're using AI. We're actually using it to enable the business to move faster without us completely. We're going to put in some guardrails and help them do better faster. We're going to go back to focusing on the lawyer work, and then we're going to figure out how to use AI for our work. But I feel like that also gets forgotten. It's like this lump of AI legal. And I'm like, well, you could actually use AI now because, hey, guess what? The business is using AI. Surprise. Hello, teenagers in your house having a party in your basement. What are we pretending they're not doing down there? Right? Are you guys, are you wrestling with that where the business is like, oh, don't worry. I ran it through chat. Don't worry, Jess.
Totally. And that's about sort of that like we'll occasionally get like, well, I checked it and my legal assessment is, and it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, getting your law degree out of a Cracker Jack box. I'm really dating myself there too, but yeah, I think that is also about like building trust, right? And sort of like if you're the person that is, I need to redline the shit out of this, right? Like I need to completely like, and you're always hand wringing, and you're always kind of saying no, and you're always saying, wait a second, but then it makes sense for your clients to be like, well, I'm just going to go check ChatGPT. But if you're the kind of counsel that's really like sitting beside them, shoulder to shoulder, working through issues and being that strategic advisor, then you're invaluable, and people want to come to you. And also, if you proactively give them tools and resources to self-serve, they're more comfortable knowing what their limits are, right? They're more comfortable saying like, okay, I've been given so much of a leash, but I've been told here are the 5 things that really need a lawyer for. That builds trust, right? It's true 100%. With teenagers too. If you say, you can't, you have to go to bed every night at 8 o'clock and you're 18 and you can't, do anything, they're going to sneak out. But if you say, look, I know you're going to go party, and I know you're going to go do this, and like, I'm here.
When you call me in the middle of the night,
I'll come to you, right? Like, then they're not going to go off the rails. So
I know, because it's my own show, I get to do my favorite analogies. I'm like, you might as well hand out the condoms if you're going to pretend, right? That's what I always say. I'm like, if you're having a party, and you're, or show them where the liquor cabinet is, so they're not going to break the law and trying to get sneaky in with the 7-Eleven. And like, I feel like that's the reality right now. And we have lawyers.
Comment on the propriety or giving your teenager the keys to your liquor cabinet. But yes, I agree. Yes, I am aligned with the concept. Yes. No, totally.
It's the reality of what's going on today. And the reality is the businesses out there using AI. And here's the other interesting thing. We just have a couple of minutes left. This always goes so fast. But policies around AI use, like actual corporate policy, where lawyers are in this position now, they're playing dual roles, right? The C-suite's going, yes, CLO, what should our policy be? And by the way, CLO, I hope you're using AI to be faster. But what's our corporate policy? And I feel like lawyers are really in the middle going, yeah, I got to decide for everybody and for myself. Are you kind of seeing that side of it too? Like who's driving the AI use policy at Uber? Is it coming out of legal or IT?
It's definitely, so I'm not like super involved in that. I'm involved in creating our, and owning our AI guidance for content creation, actually less so for contracts. We do, guide our contracting folks on how to use it and when to use it, but that's actually mostly a tech question and mostly a CLO question. Yeah, for me anyway. Yeah.
Got it. Well, I'll tell you, I've had lawyers who've advised, actually as an attorney for a university, and I love her. She's brilliant. She's great. But at the time we talked, which I'd love to know if that changes. I mean, 8 months ago now, 6, whatever. She's like, well, no, our policies, students can't use AI. And I said, can't? Right. Okay. Thank you for the reaction, because I said, can't? Like, actually, you're saying you can't, back to our teenager story, right? Like, and these are actual teenagers. These are college students, and you're going, yeah, you can't use AI.
No, that's bananas. I mean, it's funny. Like, there was a candidate who interviewed for a job maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago, and she clearly used AI in the written exercise. And I said, great. So you used AI. Like, tell me kind of the prompts. Tell me that you were. And she said, no, I didn't use AI. And I was like, but you did, like, and that's okay. And that's good. And you should. And sort of, so we've moved from like shame and hiding it to, and I think there were so many articles out about how like students were definitely using it, right? To like now, well, you have to use it, right? Like, and there's 2 different skills, right? It's using it really, really well, and then it's writing a coherent thing in a closed door room with a pen and paper. Like they're 2 different skills, and you should have both of them, but you can't ignore that one is an incredibly powerful skill. So people who are still have their head in the sand are going to be left behind.
They're going to be left behind. No, it's like a calculator. It's just here. There's some tests where you're not allowed to use it, but otherwise we're assuming you're going to use a calculator. I'd like you to be faster and sometimes more accurate. So, okay. In our last little half minute, Jess, the last, what is your advice to the eager law student who is graduating and excited about their first lawyer job in commercial work? What's your advice to them?
go to
What are you
business school.
thinking?
Just kidding. No, it's like, be prepared to like bone up on AI, like understand it, get it, and distinguish yourself as someone who has judgment. I don't think that's a particularly hot take either, but like distinguish yourself as someone who is really interested in growing and developing their judgment skills and their counseling skills, and read up on different things, and kind of like be a worldly lawyer. Be ready to be an advisor.
I like it. Be curious, be ready to experiment, and
Yeah.
always be exploring, right?
Totally.
That's important. Not just finding every issue in a contract. That no longer will get you an A+ at your job, right? All right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Jess. I hope to have you back for part 2 so I can know what's the latest with AI half a year from now. But for now, thank you and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thanks, everyone.